Now I know the first thing you all probably thought when you saw this video in your feed on this fine morning, but Davey, that's not a PlayStation game. Yeah, well, even though Sony's little grey box was my console of choice back in the day, that doesn't mean I never strayed to the other side every once in a while. Traitor! So yeah, I did have an N64 as well. It was Pokemon themed. It was blue and yellow and had a picture of Pikachu on it.
Pika Pika!
I didn't have many games for it, cause again, PS1 was my usual poison, but one of the ones I did was Goldeneye 007. Oh yeah, any self-respecting gamer should be familiar with that name, not just because of its association with one of the most famous movie characters and franchises of all time, but since it also happens to be considered one of the greatest and most influential games of all time, and one of the most important in the FPS genre, having revolutionised it in ways not seen again until the likes of Halo and Call of Duty years later. But how does one of the ultimate trailblazers of console gaming hold up in the present day? Well, let's grab our Walther PPKs and explodey pen things and find out. So GoldenEye 007 was developed by Rare and published by Nintendo in 1997, and as you can see right here, it was only on the N64. Because of course it was. I mean, we all know just how protective the fine folks at Nintendo are of their exclusives and IPs. They hold on to that shit like it's their balls, like all publishers do. So yeah. Aw, you only got a PlayStation or a Dreamcast? Well, tough shit, motherfucker. No GoldenEye for you. You want to play the game version of Pierce Brosnan's first outing as our favourite martini-chugging, womanising relic of the Cold War? Well, you better get to grovelling to those tired old parents of yours, hadn't ya? Anyway, we get started and get a little intro to introduce us to our cast of characters. We've got old Jimmy Bond, looking less like Pierce Brosnan and more like the love child of Martin Kemp and Tobias Menzies. The human lemming, Natalia Simonova, for some reason looking like she's about to throw down for the WWE Women's World Championship. The unluckiest man in Hollywood, Sean Bean, the most dangerous pair of legs since Rose McGowan and Grindhouse. Harry Potter if the whole wizarding thing didn't pan out and he decided to pursue a career in tech support. Russian Hagrid and this guy. Whoever this is he in the film? I mean, it's been that long since I've seen it, I don't even remember. So we choose a save file, then a mission, and then get our briefing from M. We're in Russia, where we've got to take out a chemical warfare facility, but first we've got to do the damn part, what we saw in the film. So we get started, and I guess since this is a super covert, top secret and sensitive operation, we've got to make like Solid Snake and sneak in and out, real smooth like, leaving no trace that we were ever here. Right? Nah, fuck that shit, we're just gonna blow through the joint, slaughtering everything that moves. Yeah, I'm sure that won't lead to any awkward international tension or anything. Now before I say anything else, I just want to preface everything to come with the fact that I haven't played this game for many years. And not only that, but in that time, I've also played a lot of other first-person shooters. Halo, Call of Duty, Bioshock, etc. All of which have significantly improved upon and refined the foundations laid by this game, and are very different as a result. Now, having played so many FPSs over the years and then coming back to this, you can forgive me for trying to play it like those newer, more modern and frankly better games. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did to start with. I tried to play it as if it were Call of Duty or what have you. You know, moving slowly and tactically, taking cover, stopping and aiming for every enemy, going for headshots and... yeah, don't. Just don't. See, one thing you need to know is, yeah, this game is old. This game is so old. And if you try to play it like pretty much any FPS released over the past 20 or so years, you're not gonna have a good time, since that's pretty much the fastest way to get yourself killed. So yeah, forget about trying to be tactical like it's some yearly COD slop or whatever. The best way to play is to move as fast as you can, gunning down every enemy before they have a chance to hit you. If you stop moving, like to try and get headshots, you're just gonna get hit, so don't even bother. So yeah, that's the name of the game. You just make your way through, massacring every filthy commie you come across. And I like this truck that's just quietly trundling along beside you, which now that I think about it, it's probably being driven by the smartest guy in this whole place. I mean, he's seen what's going on outside the cab and wants absolutely nothing to do with it whatsoever. He's like, fuck that, I don't get paid enough for this shit. I'm just gonna do my job and pretend everything's okay. I respect that. So you just make your way to the middle of the dam and then just throw yourself off and it's on to mission 2. We're inside the facility and have to destroy the deadly gas canisters and link up with 006. And before we go any further, I'll add one more preface or disclaimer or whatever. See, I admit I did have quite a bit of trouble playing this game and getting used to the controls, but not all that's the game's fault. See, as usual, I am playing on an emulator and... Oh, sorry, I was just checking to make sure there isn't a Nintendo Hitman outside about to put a bullet through my head. I think I'm okay. Although that Hello Kitty van has been parked across the street for a suspiciously long time. Anyway, yeah, I'm playing on an emulator, and as I do with all other games, I'm using a DualShock 4 controller. And yeah, you can just imagine trying to map this shit to that. Yeah, it took a little while to get it right. I mean, at one point I managed to map fire to the fucking start button. But because I'm playing on a different type of controller to what the game was designed for, I feel I can't criticise the controls too heavily, since I'm not even playing the game the way it was intended. But anyway, I just felt I should mention that. So again, the combat functions pretty much the same as what we saw in The World's Not Enough. It's fine for what it is. There's not much to it, but it's fast paced and fun for the most part. You aim freely, but you've also got the auto-targeting thing where your reticle snaps to the nearest enemy, when it feels like it, and then you just blast them. And you've also got the precision mode to aim more accurately, which you can also use to lean out of cover this time around, like in The World's Not Enough on PS1. And this thing was one of the biggest pains about this game. See, it works pretty much the same as in The World's Not Enough, but with a couple very annoying differences. First of all, it's a lot more sensitive, making it harder to aim quickly, especially when you're in the middle of a firefight, so you've got to be really deliberate about how you move the stick, and it's just really finicky. And secondly, if you let go of the stick, and by that I mean just slightly relieve the pressure on it, the fucking reticle jumps right back to the center of the fucking screen, because why? Why does it do that? Why can't it just stay where it is like in later games? So yeah, while you're messing around trying to aim at shit, you're also having to concentrate on holding the stick completely still so you don't miss, and it just makes the precision aiming really clunky and irritating to use, to the point where it's best to just ignore it altogether, except in some specific instances which we'll get to in a bit. So anyway, you meet up with 006, destroy the gas tanks and escape the base, although Boromir here is killed in the blast, allegedly, and as always we get graded on our performance. But just like the other older Bond games, for the most part your stats don't really matter, except for the target time, which if you complete the level within, you unlock some extra cheat codes. On to the next mission. We're in Siberia now and have to investigate another super secret Soviet base. And you may be thinking, wait a minute, I don't remember this shit from the film. Where's the bit where they're racing through the French mountains? Or when Miss Legs gives that pilot guy the best death in the history of cinema? I mean, I wouldn't mind going out like that. But yeah, since a lot of the scenes in the film don't make for exciting gameplay, they had to make a few changes to the story, so the game wouldn't only be like 2 hours long or something. So now we're just going around this wasteland, taking out bad guys and looking for our objectives. And even though the size and scope of the environment is pretty impressive for the time, it is a bit annoying that you don't have any kind of map or anything to help you find your way around. See, some of these levels can be pretty big with multiple objectives to complete depending on your difficulty level, and a lot of the time the briefings you get beforehand aren't particularly helpful, like they'll tell you what you have to do but usually don't include any hints about where you have to go to do it, and when they do it's still not that useful because there's no map to help you find where you need to go. And while some levels are pretty linear, others aren't, so the only way to find your objective is to just wander blindly around and hope you're going the right way, so it would have been nice to have a map or something. But that's not the only irritating thing I discovered about this game all these years later. Yeah, this game does have a few oddities that make it a lot less fun to play than I remember, and to be honest, don't make much sense for back then either. First of all, might as well just get it out of the way since it's one of my biggest pet peeves with these old games. There's no checkpoints. You get killed or fail an objective and it's right back to the beginning of the mission. And even though they mostly aren't that long, it's still annoying to be forced to start again every time you fuck up, especially as the game starts to get more difficult, or when you're playing on higher difficulties and you've got more objectives to complete. Just, what was the aversion to having checkpoints in these older games? I mean, it's not like they didn't have the technology or whatever. Checkpoints have been around since pretty much the beginning, so why not have them here? Just to make the game harder and go on for longer? To create the illusion of giving you more bang for your buck? I mean, now that I think about it, yeah, that's probably it. And I guess it's sort of understandable from a game making perspective, so yeah. But I still hate it! Next we're inside the underground bunker, and as you can see we've got quite a few objectives to complete, and that brings me to another strange and annoying aspect of this game. See, unlike most other games from this time, there's more to these missions than just reaching the end. You actually have a few different types of objective, the number of which, as I've already said, depends on the difficulty you're playing on, with higher difficulties having more. So yeah, that's fine, but what happens should you fail an objective? Do you fail the mission and get sent back to the beginning to try again, as is tradition? Haha, nope. What happens? Well, nothing. So yeah, you fuck up somehow. Yeah, the game will let you know, but does the mission stop and you have to start again? No, you can just keep going, all the way to the end if you want. At which point the game's like, yeah, you finished the mission, but you didn't do this right, you silly fucker, so no, you're not passing. Now get back to the fucking beginning and do it right. So yeah, as I'm finding myself asking more and more throughout this video, just why? Why not stop the mission and make you start again? Why let you keep playing even though you've already failed the fucking thing? So if you fail an objective, rather than automatically be given the option to start again, you instead have to pause the game, quit the mission, and then go through all the briefing shit again. And yeah, it doesn't take long, but it's still annoying, especially as you get further into the game and it starts to get harder, which we will most definitely get to. So again, it's not game breaking, it's just another bizarre quirk that makes no sense and makes the game just that little more irritating to play. But anyway, you go through the satellite bunker, make a copy of the Goldeneye key, meet this silly fuck, and then it's on to the next mission where you've got to fuck up some missile silos, and then you're on a frigate where you've got to rescue some hostages. And you've got to be careful, because if you rush in all guns blazing, it's not hard to shoot the poor pricks by accident. And then you stick a tracker onto this helicopter, because oh yeah, they're not going to notice that shit at all. It's also in these missions where the game starts to get a bit harder, since up to this point we've mostly been in wide open areas where you've got more room to move around and avoid enemy fire. But now we're in mostly smaller rooms and corridors where there's less space, so it's easier to get hit. Which is made worse by the fact that apparently everything in this universe seems to be made out of fucking dynamite or some shit. And I mean everything. Barrels, I mean, okay, you've got that in just about every game, but then you've got fucking computer mainframes, monitors, boxes, lockers, tables. Literally everything in this fucking game goes boom if you put a fucking bullet in it, which if you happen to be standing next to does damage to you, because of course. And yeah, as you'd expect, it's good for taking out groups of enemies, but it also means you can't afford to stand near pretty much anything during a firefight, because all it takes is a couple straight bullets to make it go kablooey, which is a particularly big problem in these missions because you've got less room to move around and so many fuckers shooting at you, and so much shit just waiting to blow. So in addition to keeping an eye out for any wankers wanting to kill you, you've also got to make sure you're not standing next to anything either, because you can easily just get blown up pretty much out of nowhere. And these explosions are weird as well. They go on for ages, like what are they in fucking slow motion or something? So unlike in other games where explosions usually only last for like half a second or whatever, these go on for at least a couple seconds, so you've got to make sure to hang back for at least that long because you can easily get caught in it even when you think it's done. And naturally, if something explodes near something else that can explode, it can create a chain reaction, so it goes on for even longer. And not only that, but they can clip through walls as well, so don't think hiding behind a fucking wall can protect you either. But anyway, after all that, we're back at the bunker in Siberia. There's not much to say here, but I like at the end of the mission where you get inside and are captured by these 3 jerk-offs. And it's like, what the fuck, man? How many fucking guys have you slaughtered up to this point? And now you're just gonna surrender to these wankers? That's like if in any of the scenes in John Wick where he's massacring dozens of bad guys while barely breaking a sweat, then he runs into a few more guys and he's just like,
"Please, dude, don't hurt me. Oh man."
So in the next mission, we find ourselves in the cells like the morning after a wild night in Glasgow and have to break out. And up to this point, despite being a little old and clunky, the game was at least about as fun as I remember. But this was where it turned into an odious piece of shit. So we've got to find a way out of this cell, but we're not alone, because turns out we're cellmates with... Oh no. Oh, don't you worry, we'll get to you soon enough. Oh yes, we will. Anyway, back to the problem at hand, and this is pretty much like what we saw on the ship in Agent Under Fire. They've taken all your weapons, but again, didn't bother to relieve you of your gadgets as well. Although it's not quite as brain dead as in that, where they just let you keep your 5 fucking Motorola's that you can't go anywhere without on you for some reason. Yeah, cause how much mischief can you really get up to with that? You know who this fucking guy is, you fucking idiots? Nah, instead here, you've just got your wristwatch. And I guess that's somewhat understandable. I mean, how much damage can you cause with a wristwatch? I guess they never saw Live and Let Die. So yeah, to escape, you've just got to equip your magic magnetic Rolex and then use it to get the conveniently placed cell key and voila! The jailer's like, "Stop right there!" And you just have to knock the guy out with your karate chop. And I love this little wimpy bitch slap we've got. I mean, look at that. How can you not laugh your ass off at that shit? It's like something out of those old Sega CD FMV games. Remember those? Every time you use it, I feel it should be accompanied by "Ha ha 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 ha! Take this, you nasty old brute, you!" It's even more pathetic than what we had in The World's Not Enough. At least that was an actual punch. But with that out of the way, we can then release... Oh. You. Oh. Very well. Ugh. So now we've got to fight our way out of the bunker, as well as complete a couple other objectives. And first thing you'll notice is we actually have the option of moving stealthily to achieve our goals. But again, don't bother. Just don't. I mean, if the PS1 couldn't handle first person stealth, what fucking chance has this piece of shit got? So yeah, you might be able to take out a couple guys without alerting the rest of the base, but as soon as one manages to get off a couple shots, pretty much everyone just magically knows where you are and converges on your position, and this is where the fun pretty much stops. See, even though the game did get a little harder, what with you being in more enclosed areas with less space to move around, it still wasn't so bad, cause at least the number of enemies was manageable, but here, that just goes completely out the fucking window. I mean, Jesus Christ, what have you got, half the fucking Russian army down here? Is that enough for you? You sure you don't want a few more? So yeah, the number of enemies in this mission is honestly pretty ridiculous. There's just so many that it's really easy to get overwhelmed. They're constantly ganging up on you, cornering you inside rooms and shit. So many that they all can't even fit through the fucking door most of the time. And since you haven't got much room to move around, it's hard to avoid their fire. So they can cut you to pieces in literally a few seconds. And of course, you've then got all the random pieces of office equipment just waiting to go nuclear if a couple bullets hit them. So you're having to watch out for that shit as well. So yeah, even though the previous couple missions were a bit annoying, they were at least manageable, but the difficulty spike here is, to be honest, pretty insane. But that's not all, cause then we finally come to you, Natalia. See, even if you've never played this game, chances are you've heard of Natalia, considering she's on just about every single list of the absolute worst video game companions of all time, and with good reason. Yeah, in gaming circles, the name Natalia Simonova will forever go down in infamy. Remember what I said about Dr. Jones in The World's Not Enough? How she would run into enemy fire and get herself killed? Yeah, well, with Natalia, take that and times it by about 1 billion. Seriously, people in persistent vegetative states have greater awareness of what's going on around them. People infected with the suicide disease from the fucking happening have superior survival instincts to this daft Russian biddy. I've never seen a video game character so determined to do themselves in. She'll blindly run into your line of fire, enemy fire between you and the enemies, explosions, and I mean it, it's constant. You've got to babysit her like she's a fucking toddler. Although to be honest, it'd probably be safer to leave a 2-year-old alone next to an open pool full of boxed jellyfish than to turn your back on this stupid bin for 2 fucking seconds. So yeah, she turns what's already an irritating load of wank into an even more irritating load of wank. Since in addition to fighting off the legions of guards, you've also got to constantly keep your eye on her to make sure she doesn't get herself killed and make her fail the mission. And once again, it took my stupid fucking arse way longer than I care to admit to realise, oh, I can just leave her locked up in the cell while I go around and slaughter all the enemies, and then let her out once all the danger's been taken care of. Yeah, for fuck's sake, man. But anyway, once you finally make it through all this shit, you escape the bunker just in time before it's destroyed by the Goldeneye satellite, and that's the end of the mission. Next we're in St. Petersburg, where we've got to meet up with Hagrid to find out about these Giannis fuckos behind the attack on the frigate. And we've also got to rescue Natalia, who's gone and got herself caught again. Because of course she fucking has. Hell, I'm surprised she didn't get herself killed the second we got out of the bunker. So now we're just wandering around this cheery looking place. Looks like the garden outside the Addams family house. If there were a bunch of raging reds. But yeah, you just go around slaughtering soldiers who want to kill you just because, until you find Hagrid just kicking around in some random shipping container, who tells you that this Giannis guy will meet us at the Lenin statue, and then he just fucks off. Well, at least he didn't force us to play a million hands of blackjack first. So we just toddle on over there, and then the guy turns up with his boys and... Alec! You're alive! And working for the enemy? Traitor! So yeah, you've seen the film. Turns out the whole getting shot in the head or blown up thing was just a ruse, and old Mr. Bean here is in fact the elusive Giannis, who's got a bone to pick with old Blighty, making him the main villain. And you've got to be careful at this bit, because if you move a bit too far forward with your weapon drawn, the guy will pussy out and run away and you'll fail the mission, even though you got a clear look at him, so what's the fucking problem? So you fight your way out, save Natalia and escape from the cemetery or whatever it is, but then you get captured again by this guy who wants to know about what happened at the bunker in Siberia, and again you're just like, oh, okay, you got me, which is fine. I mean, it's not like we've got anything to hide. Apart from annihilating half the Russian army and stealing state secrets. Nope, nothing at all. So now we're at the Secret Service HQ or whatever, where we're being questioned about what happened at the bunker. And oh shit, they think we stole the Goldeneye satellite. No, although we did leave the bunker pretty much devoid of life before it was destroyed, but we'll just leave that part out. But these guys are having none of it, so now we've got to shoot our way out. Cause yeah, I'm sure that'll go a long way to helping your case. So this is pretty much just another shooting gallery. You're just going around blasting guys and watching out for all these deadly Amazon crates apparently stuffed to the brim with TNT. So let's take a break and look at the presentation side. The graphics were honestly kind of groundbreaking for the time, what with all the gunshot and explosion and broken glass effects, etc. There really was nothing else quite like them back then, and while obviously they're hella dated now, I think they do still hold up pretty well. The gunfire and explosions and bullet impacts still look good, and the blood effects that appear on enemies when you hit them is a nice little touch. The environments are well detailed too, and do a good job of emulating the locations from the film. If I did have any criticisms, I'd say that while for the most part I do like the art style, I did find it to be a little bland at times. Like the most common colours you see throughout the game are mostly just greys, browns and whites, and some of the textures are a bit rough as well, but it's not that big a deal. I can't say the same for the character models. I mean, while they are a bit blocky, they are at least human shaped, but the faces, oh my god, the faces. Yeah, they're a bit, well, just take a look at some of these. I mean, Jesus Christ, and I gave shit to the faces in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, but at least they looked somewhat human, or at least a malfunctioning android pretending to be human. Harry! I mean, what the fuck am I looking at? Speaking of the Addams family, we got fucking Lurch right here, and hey, it's Yakov Smirnoff, and this guy just looks like the bloke who did the fucking Trollololol song. I guess if I could say something positive, at least the main characters look somewhat like their counterparts from the film. I mean, at least you can tell who they're all meant to be. But yeah, it's 1997 I suppose, so I'm not really sure how much better you could have expected for the time. And while we're on the topic of characters, the enemies are pretty funny. They don't do much apart from stand around and shoot at you, but then they'll do all these funny moves where they'll shuffle and jump around all over the place. I guess to line themselves up with you, but I just couldn't help but laugh every time I saw it. Is that something they teach you in the army? Is drilling the Russian forces just the fucking cha-cha slide?
Slide to the left, slide to the right, cha-cha real smooth.
Fuck me. Now that tells you just how old I am. Jesus Christ. Oh, and the AI can be a bit screwy as well, as we've already seen with fucking Natalia, but it's not just her. Yeah, the enemies, well, let's just say they're not the sharpest tools in the box. And yeah, I know it's 1997, you can't expect fucking Skynet, I get it, but come on, this is pretty ridiculous. Although I don't know, maybe it's actually realistic and the Russian army's perfectly fine with having deaf, dumb and blind people fill their ranks. I mean, if true, their commitment to inclusivity is certainly commendable, but I would have thought that'd be a pretty big hazard on the battlefield. But hey, that's just me. There's no voice acting, all the dialogue just comes in the form of text, because why? I'm not here to read, I'm here to blow fuckers away. And yeah, while it's not a problem for the most part, it is a little irritating when the action comes to a stop for you to have silent conversations with these arseholes, which are made even longer since you're having to sit there and read this shit, especially if it's not the first time because you got killed and have had to start the mission again. But aside from that, it's also just a bit disappointing to not have any voice acting, although I don't know, judging by some of these lines, that might actually be a good thing. But I am also curious to know what it would have sounded like if they did have spoken dialogue. But even though there's no voice acting, the game does have some pretty good sound design. I like the sounds of the weapons. They all sound really heavy and powerful, unlike what we'd get in the PS1 games, which pretty much sounded like pea shooters in comparison. And then you've got all the other sounds, like the explosions, bullet impacts, glass breaking, and the sounds that enemies make when they get killed that really help to draw you into the action. It really is a great sounding game. The soundtrack's up there with some of the most iconic music in gaming, and yeah, it's pretty good. It's really atmospheric and has a unique and memorable sound that fits the themes of post-Cold War espionage and intrigue, while also fitting well with the setting and action, be it the cold, desolate wastelands of Siberia or the frantic escape from the missile silos. Each mission has its own distinct sound and it incorporates the classic Bond theme into practically every track without it ever seeming tired or repetitive. My favourite tracks are the Pause theme, Facility, Bunker 2, Statue and Cavern. So anyway, you shoot this shithole to bits and then find this fucko who's like, oh, turns out General Oromov is the man we're after. Okay, you're free to go, after we've just slaughtered half the fucking building. Great job, man. You think you could have checked out your info before trying to stand us against a wall and put a bullet through our head? Some fucking Minister of Defense you are. And then he just buggers off and it's back to massacring guards. Doesn't even bother calling off his boys or anything. Yeah, thanks, dick cheese. So you blow away a few more guys, find Natalia who's like, oh, I'm scared, I'm out of here. You jump out the window and that's the mission done. And I like at the end here where this daft bimbo actually has the fucking nerve to stand there with her arms crossed like she's some kind of badass or something. Like what the fuck did you do? Apart from bumble around like a headless chicken and nearly get yourself killed, you fucking rivet. But it's not over cause, oh dear, looks like Natalia's been captured again. Because, ow! She was literally just with us! What happened? Did you fucking stroke out for a couple seconds while the bad guys took the opportunity to bundle her into a car instead of just killing yous right fucking there? Man, this bitch gets herself captured more times than fucking Daphne, Jubilee and Princess Peach combined! But anyway, we've got to go after her since she'll probably lead us to Alec. But first we've got to find Hagrid again, who's just kicking around for some reason because he's just got now better to do apparently. And he'll tell you where they took her and get his guys to hold them up. So then you've just got to head on over to the train yard, but you've got to get there before the time runs out, so we're going to need some wheels. And if you've seen the film, you know what kind of wheels I'm talking about. Well, not really wheels, but you know. So yeah, this is one of the missions where you can jump in the tank and drive that around, and you can also do it when you're escaping from the chemical facility. So yeah, that's pretty cool. You can blow shit up with the main gun and use your own weapons, and best of all, you can also run the fuckers over. And remember what I was saying about the sound design? Yeah, they didn't skimp on it here either. Just listen to that. So you blast your way through the streets until you reach the train yard, and that's that. And then you just shoot this place up and get on the train. And if you thought the game was done being an annoying piece of shit, nope, because like I just said, we're on a train now. And yeah, I don't know if you've ever been on a train before, but if you have, you'll probably know that there ain't a lot of space to move on them. So yeah, we're now in an even tighter environment with less space to move around, but with just as many guys shooting at you as soon as they see you. So you pretty much get cut to pieces as soon as you step out into the open. But at least there's plenty crates to hide behind. Or they're just waiting to burst into flames as soon as they catch a few strays. Yeah, this mission was a real pig. Because again, you're in such a small space and with so many enemies packed into that space, who all open fire on you as soon as they catch so much as a whiff of you, and again can drop your health in just a few moments. And then you've got all the explosive boxes that do damage as well. And yeah, they can hurt the enemies too, but to shoot them, you've got to stop and aim, which just leaves you open to getting shot to bits. And they don't even do that much damage if you do manage to hit them. So pretty much the only way I could figure out to get past these bits was to try and peek out from behind cover as little as possible to see the enemies without tripping their AI, so I could hit them before they could get a bead on me. But it gets even harder as you move from one car to the next, because you've just got so many guys ganging up on you all at once. And even though they can't shoot through each other, you can't shoot through them either. And they're all firing constantly, so as soon as one goes down, the guys behind them all hit you before you can hit them. And every time you get hit, it throws you back pretty far, which just fucks up your aim even more. And then you've got guys randomly appearing behind you and shooting you in the fucking back. It got to the point where pretty much whenever I lost a couple blocks of health less than halfway into the mission, I would just quit and start again because I was probably just going to get killed anyway. Yeah, I hated this fucking mission. So after all that shit, you finally make it to the front of the train, I guess, where you take out General Oromov and save Natalia. But then old Janus, get it? Because he calls himself Janus, but the guy's also a massive arsehole. Anyway, he gives you the slip and traps you inside, and you've only got a minute to escape before you get blown into orbit with that fancy fucking satellite of his. And this isn't hard, you've just got to use your watch laser, which can actually be used as a weapon here, unlike the laser in Agent Under Fire because, what the fuck, to burn through these bits and there you go. Alright, we're in the final stretch, and on our way to Cuba to shove a pen grenade right up that motherfucker Alec's traitorous fucking arse, and put an end to this Goldeneye bullshit once and for all. Well, that doesn't sound too bad. Oh wait, we're bringing Natalia along with us. Yeah, scratch that. And who in the fuck thought it was a good idea to give her a gun? Jesus Christ, that's like giving a fat man to a fucking chimpanzee. So now we've just got to shoot our way through the jungle like we're hunting down the fucking Viet Cong or something. And we've also got to take out these machine gun turrets. And then, wait a minute, what? Did you just... Holy shit, you shot that guy! You actually did something useful! I never thought I'd see the day! Praise the Lord, it's a miracle! So you just continue through the jungle, cross this rope bridge, and oh shit, it's the lady with the legs of steel herself. Not that you'd know that if you haven't seen the film, considering this is the first time we ever see her. Well, that's not true. You do get a brief glimpse of her on the train, and there's the opening credits, of course. But anyway, she can be a bit annoying the first few times you fight her, since she just suddenly comes charging out of the jungle firing a machine gun and grenade launcher, and it doesn't take much for her to completely drop your health. But once you get past that, she's actually not that bad. You don't kill her with a helicopter and tree like in the film, nah, instead you just fill her full of lead until she bites the dust, and it's actually surprisingly easy to do. Yeah, if you just spray her in the head a few times, that's all it takes. So it's pretty funny when the music starts and she comes running at you, but then you just headshot her and yeah, that's it. Oh well, you tried. Next mission, we're inside Alec's secret base, and again, if you thought the game was done being an irritating piece of shit, you better think again, cause we're about to be served up a massive plate of bullshit with a side helping of horse wank. See, you start off in this elevator, you tell Natalia to park her dumbass while you secure the area, then you take one step out of the lift and immediately get turned into a Pierce Brosnan shaped block of Swiss cheese by the fucking minigun auto turret what's just waiting right there for you. Yeah, to the level designer or whatever who decided to put that piece of shit right fucking there.
You see these, McNulty? You see them? These are for you. These are for you for as long as it takes me to get even.
I mean, how in the fuck was I supposed to know that shit was gonna be waiting right there? Not the first fucking time! And like I said, it starts firing immediately as you step out of the lift, so you pretty much get cut to pieces in an instant. And since this thing's on the ceiling, the only way to take it out is to use the precision aim. But remember what I was saying earlier about the aiming mode being a pain later on? Well, here we are. So you can't go any further until you've cleared out this whole area, including the automated turrets. Yeah, that's turrets plural, because of course there's more than one. And again, since they're all the way up on the ceiling, your only option is to stop still and use the precision aim, all while the fucking things are firing about 1,000,000 rounds a second at you. And because the aiming mode is so fiddly and finicky to use, it takes ages to aim at the turrets, which again are spraying bullets at you like water from an elephant's long ass fucking nose. Yeah, this bit was just bullshit. And again, the only way I could beat it was to inch myself out of cover just enough to see and shoot the turrets without them seeing me. But even then that didn't always work. So once again, to the absolute wank lord who designed this bit. So after you make it through that bullshit, you reach the central area where you've now got to protect Natalia from endless waves of bad guys, while she performs her computer wizardry to stop London from getting wiped out or whatever. Sounds simple enough, right? Oh, no. So you've just got to take out all the enemies what are coming to stop you from foiling their evil plan. But they come at you from all over the fucking place, and you can only keep an eye on one direction at a time, so you're having to constantly keep turning from one way to the next, taking the fuckers out the second you see them. And would you believe that Natalia actually manages to be even more annoying here than before? I mean, at least when she was blindly running into enemy fire, the enemies weren't actively shooting at her. But not here. Nah, cause I guess since they figured this mission wasn't already annoying enough, now she's their main fucking target, to the point where they don't even bother shooting at you. And what's more is, the fuckers didn't even give her any health. That's right, she can only take about 1 or 2 shots before she drops, meaning you've really got to be on the fucking ball here, cause all it takes is for one enemy to get the drop on you and put a couple bullets in the daft biddy while you've got your fucking back turned, and there you go, she's dead. And now you've got to start over from the fucking beginning, which of course means you've got to deal with this shit all over again. Like, couldn't you have just given her a bit more health? Is that too much to fucking ask? Yeah, you can bet, once I finally managed to get through this load of horse cock and I sent her back to the lift, I chaperoned her stupid ass the entire way like I was the biggest fucking Bible basher outside of Mississippi, and she was my daughter going out with the baddest boy in town, because I'm fuck doing this shit again. I actually ended up having to drop the difficulty down to agent for this mission because it was just too much, which actually also took away the turrets. Well, how kind of you. And after that, you chase after that snake Alec, fight your way through the caverns, and then it's up onto the antenna cradle for the final showdown. And thankfully this was a lot simpler than all the shit that came before. You've just got to run along this gantry taking out all the fuckos you come across. then wreck the control console to stop Goldeneye from firing once and for all, and then you just chase Mr. Bean all over the fucking place. Like seriously, he leads you on the fucking magical mystery tour of this fucking thing, and all the while you're just shooting him in the back. Again, like it's a game of Slayer in Halo 3 or something. Then you reach the bottom of the ladder, he gives us one last "For England, James!" You pop him in the head, and there the bastard goes. And you've really got to make sure to hit him first, cause remember when I said you get thrown back pretty far when you get hit? Yeah, all it takes is for him to hit you once and you get thrown back. And of course, it's a small platform, so you can easily end up being the one who goes over the edge instead, and then you've got to start all over again. But anyway, Yanus takes one last tumble off the antenna, Bond hitches a ride on a passing helicopter, he and Natalia bone down in the middle of the jungle. Oh, isn't it so romantic? And yeah, that's the end. There are a couple bonus levels you unlock by beating the game on Secret Agent and 00 Agent, but am I shite going through this shit again on hard? It was bad enough on fucking normal. So yeah, this is as far as I go. I'm done. So that was Goldeneye 007 on N64, and in conclusion, I'll reiterate what I said towards the beginning of the video. This game's old, it's so old, and in case you were wondering, no, it hasn't aged all that gracefully either. Now that's not to say it's a bad game, because it isn't. It's still a lot of fun, but after years and years of playing newer and frankly better FPSs, some aspects of it, like I said, just haven't aged very well, and make the game much more of a ball ache than I remember. Although I also acknowledge that having played so many newer shooters over the years, that my perception's probably gonna be biased, at least a little bit. But if you detach yourself from all that, then yeah, it's still a good time, for the most part, and you can see why it was considered so groundbreaking back in the day, even if it does have a few weird oddities that didn't make sense even back then. Yeah, the precision aim's awkward and clunky, the explosive furniture's annoying, and the missions where you've got to babysit Natalia are enough to give you a cerebral fucking aneurysm. But if you can look past all that, then once again, it's still a lot of fun. The combat's fast-paced and engaging, the movement and controls are surprisingly decent, especially since I'm not even using the controller the game was designed for. The graphics still hold up pretty well, the sound design hits hard, and the soundtrack kicks ass, so there's still plenty to like. So yeah, if you never got the chance to experience one of the most important and influential first-person shooters of all time, 1, you had no childhood, and 2, I recommend you give it a go. Maybe you'll have a good time with it, maybe you won't, but even if you don't like it, you've still got to appreciate it since it pretty much paved the way for all the newer FPS slot we know and love today. So you'd think, given how well received and remembered the game is, that Rare would have done more shooters based on the Bond IP. But sadly it wasn't meant to be. Now if you saw my review of The World's Not Enough on PS1, you'll know that there was also a version on N64 which appears to be quite similar to Goldeneye, but that was made by Eurocom of Tarzan fame. Rare was initially going to do a sequel to Goldeneye based on Tomorrow Never Dies, but ended up being outbid by EA for the rights, and we all know how that ended up. Or maybe you don't, in which case I recommend you watch my review of that game. In the end, Rare would develop a spiritual successor to Goldeneye called Perfect Dark, which would go on to be just as, if not even more beloved than its predecessor, and which I'm ashamed to admit I never played. So yeah, there's another one for the list. But the story of Goldeneye 007 doesn't end there. See, all the way back in 2008, Rare was in the process of developing a remaster for Xbox Live Arcade, with updated graphics and new features, until Nintendo put the kibosh on that because, thanks guys. Although a playable ROM of the game in its near final form did find its way to the web. And in 2010, there was also a full-on remake developed by, oh, hello again Eurocom, and published by, Activision, which reimagined the story as part of the Daniel Craig arc. And, nope, never played that either. It was alright from what I hear, although it just looks like a reskin of Call of Duty with the Bond license to me. So, who knows, maybe I'll give it a go at some point. And yeah, that's about it. Man, that was a lot harder than I remember. Although to be honest, pretty much all the memories I have of this game from back in the day were just dicking around in it. So yeah, it probably would have been a lot harder if we were actually bothered about playing it properly. But anyway, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then leave a like. If you didn't, then tell me to go fuck myself. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're making good progress. So if you enjoy my content and have yet to subscribe, I'll be extremely grateful if you would do so. And as always, thank you very much to everyone who already has. And also, I'm working on getting a Patreon set up, so I'll be making a full announcement about that very soon. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the... Huh, what's that red dot? Oh shit.